Anyway, we'll get used to this.
Well, as Sherry said, things will flow now that Liz has arrived. So I was just introducing myself to people while we were waiting.
I could hear you.
So, oh, you could hear me. Okay. Oh, that's good. Okay. So this is my friend Liz, and she's an energy healer as well. And she's absolutely amazing and a true inspiration to me, as I know she will be for you too, if you don't already know her. But I'm going to hand over to Liz so that she can say a little bit something about herself and her work and how she helps people raise their vibrations, expand their consciousness. So over to you, Liz. No pressure.
No pressure, yeah. Okay, so my name is Liz, and I'm a qualified naturopath and herbalist and biomagnetics practitioner, and I still sort of do all of those things, but really more than ever now I'm doing more energy healing. I started doing distance healing when I moved to Spain, so that I could continue taking care of all my Irish persons, and so I started, doing distance healing, and it's evolving more and more into energy healing, pure energy healing. And sorry, I'm hearing something in the background. It's not my background.
I have silence here, so
okay. I think it's just my voice, and I'm hearing my echo. Don't worry. Yeah, it's been quite a journey for me, and I'm really loving that it's changing so fast. That everything is changing, and every day I'm working quite differently. Yeah, so apart from doing distance healing and energy work, I also talk to people about changing their perspective on life and just seeing things maybe slightly differently, so that they get a broader, more expansive experience of life, really. Yeah, do I need to say anything else?
Okay, no, that's something, and I'm glad you said that about the talking, the talking to people, because I mean I've seen you in your flow, and what an amazing flow, and the talking to people, you have this innate ability to be able to really intuitively get to the core of issues that even very intuitive people can't always see. So I do think that's one of your gifts. But I like the way you talked about evolving. You just said that, you know, what you're doing is changing all the time and evolving. And I think that is such an important point. And I think that's why we were both guided to do what we're doing now today, because so many people are evolving, so many people are changing. And it involves the thoughts and the beliefs. And it's fundamentally, it's frequency. We know that, right? Fundamentally, it's energy that's changing, and it's their frequency that's changing. But that manifests itself as the thoughts and the ideas, and of course, the reality changing around them. And so many people, understandably, we all find change uncomfortable. And I think one of the things that we're doing now with our clients is helping them navigate through this change, this inevitable change. And which brings us to the title of what we're doing today, of the importance of raising your vibrations, because I think that is it's basically the importance of evolving. So you've talked about how you're evolving now, and you know I am, and so our gifts are changing, they're getting more powerful, they're getting more intense, and our knowledge keeps changing. And one of the things that keeps coming up in the cards, and not only my cards, that are coming up, is the don't believe everything you hear, and don't believe everything you think. Because I always think to myself, if you don't change the way you think over the whole course of your life, then you're not evolving. So that's all connected. So there's a lot of people evolving at the moment, and I think that's why there's a lot of discomfort. And one of the things that we wanted to talk about today, Liz and I, was basically how to navigate through that discomfort. I could just sum up and say simply it is raise your vibrations. Just go and raise your vibrations. But let's talk a little bit about how we raise our vibrations. So, Liz, I know that, like me, you're following the teachings of Sarah Landon, and I found them very transformational, especially combined with my recent trip to India. But so can I kickstart with that and ask you what particular nuggets of wisdom have you picked up from the council, Sarah Landon and the council, that you've taken away, a takeaway point about anything that you've learned from there? And
the most recently, I think the this idea, maybe I'm jumping too far ahead, but this idea that where do I start? That we consciousness has created all life, all matter, everything, and we are all just little tiny specks of the one consciousness. I mean, I know that that everybody knows this, but when it actually freaking drops, the penny drops, I am consciousness. I am the creator. I'm not just, well, I am in this physical form. I am a creator, co-creator. We are all co-creators, but because we are all the one creator. When that idea pops in and the coin drops, it just makes everything so much more simple. Okay, so go back again. So to Sarah Landon, and what the council were saying was that when we created everything, we were spirit, but we wanted to play with our creations. So we had to slow it down to make it more tangible. We had to slow everything down to a lower vibration so that we could experience life and touch things and taste things and see things and just have fun in this, play in this world. So we had to slow it all down, because otherwise it was just consciousness just flitting by. So it was all slowed down to a lower vibration. And what we're trying to do now, over millions of years, consciousness is speeding things up again, speeding it up so that we can live more in the love and above, 500 and above frequencies, and still have this experience, this physical, material experience of life. Not just humans, all life, the planets, the animals, the plants, everything. We're all raising our vibration, so that we can live in love and peace and harmony, and still have a certain amount of density to play in. So we're doing it slowly, 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 so that it doesn't all explode, and just go back to consciousness again. We want to keep a certain amount of density. So that idea of we slowed everything down to experience it, and now it's speeding up, so that we can have it all.
Yeah, that's perfect. I mean, that's That is completely perfect. And although we've slowed everything down, now it's beginning to speed up. I think a lot of people are really feeling that it's beginning to speed up.
Yeah, well, do you know, I had an idea about that this morning. It's like, have you ever walked into, opened the door into a dark room and gotten a kind of a chill? And sometimes it's just, oh, there's a draft in here. And sometimes it's a really ominous feeling. And if it's just a draft, you know, you'll continue on into the room and you'll turn the light on and you'll be fine. But if there's that ominous feeling, your natural instinct is to step back and shut the door and run. You know, keep the darkness out, keep the darkness over there. But and that's kind of our natural child, subconscious child in us, which is a rational response when you're a child, is to shut the door and run. But now we're adults, and now we're mature, and now we are, as we wake up, we know that we can turn the light on. And we, you know, the more we wake up, the more we realize there's nothing to fear. Because when we open that door and turn the light on, it's not even that the darkness is banished. We talk about banishing darkness, or, you know, or it disappears. It doesn't. It transforms. The darkness is just transformed into light. So there is nothing to fear. There is no darkness when there's light. And as conscious, enlightened beings, we have that light. We don't need to go find a switch. We have it in us. You know, so we can walk into any darkness, and light it up and transform it.
Definitely. And as Sarah Landon says herself, activate your light. That's become not one of my, like, only my favorite affirmations at the moment, but it's like a mantra. I've actually kind of, I sing it to myself, like almost like one of those catchy tunes that gets stuck in your mind. And it's amazing because that is what transforms me from, if we were going to talk about the darkness to the light. When you say switch the light on, there's going to be people watching and listening who are going to ask the question, yes, but how do we do that? And it is going to be different for different people. It is, I mean, I think you said about love or above, and obviously, as you know, I have my trusty chart here, so it is all relevant, but it's relevant as to where you are, I think, as to how you activate your light, because I think for me now, you know, just literally that mantra and say, and reminding myself, it's not telling myself, it's reminding myself that I have the power, that I am the powerful creator of my own reality, and that I can activate my light and allow all that I am. And I mean, that's something that I'm experiencing at the moment, that allowance of all that I am. I mean, you know this, but this allowing all, that's not always the bits that you like, right? But that allowance of all that you are. So I activate my light and allow all that I am is a powerful mantra, or, you know, reminder or affirmation, or however you want to view it. So yeah, that is powerful.
Sometimes,
sorry, go on.
Sorry. Sometimes, you know, we've spoken about this before. Affirmations kind of never did anything for me because I just rhymed off the words. I never got that. I had, you know, I had to feel something with it, and so sometimes you have to bring to mind a person or a place or a feeling, something that reminds you of what your light on feels like. And you have that story about that happened to you in India, you know, when you said, I activate my light, and you had a transformational experience. So do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah. I think for me it was special for me because before India, I had glimpses of, and again, it's all in the wording, but Sarah Landon uses the phrase heaven on earth. And I know it sounds, if you haven't experienced it, it can sound corny. It's like a lot of these phrases, love is the answer, being one with all that is, and heaven on earth. I mean, they all do sound corny until you experience them. And then when you experience them, you realize the meaning and the depth and how profound they are. So for me, I like the phrase now, heaven on earth. But before India, I had good glimpses of it, maybe during yoga practice or meditation or walking my dog in the mountains. But after listening to Sarah Landon's teachings and my trip to India, I was able to really extend. I was experiencing heaven on earth in extended periods. And that was what was amazing. And when it really struck me was when I had a walk from the center that I was at to the beach. And I did it with people one day, and I just had a very, sort of, I don't know how to, like maybe a third dimensional experience, and there were dogs that were barking and making us feel quite fearful and things like that. And I remember seeing a load of rubbish and, but it's fine, I was happy, I was in a good mood and everything. But then I remember doing it like a week later and I was on my own and I was just saying this mantra to myself, singing to myself, I activate my light and allow all that I am, and was just completely like this. And suddenly these barking dogs were like asleep. They weren't even waking up as I went past them. And somebody had come and cleared all the rubbish for some reason. And not only that, but there was somebody painting this exquisite painting on the side of a restaurant, and it was so gorgeous. I had to just sit there and absorb it. And while I was doing that, there were this couple that came out of nowhere that equally enjoyed it and was sharing their love and gratitude for this exquisite painting. And it was just like this floaty experience, and it carried on for the whole time that I was at the beach. And when I stepped out of the sea, I had a little chuckle to myself because I realized that my mantra, I activate my light and allow all that I am, was still going around in my head, So I had a little laugh with myself that I was still, it was still in my subconscious. That's what it was, it's like, installing it in your subconscious. And as I stepped out of the sea, the sun was behind me and my head made a shadow, and the sun, not dissimilar to this that I have behind me now, but the sun made these rays come out of my head. And I felt like, I don't know, I felt divine. That's all I can say. And okay, it might sound a bit silly, but I'm getting myself back into the energy of it now, so it doesn't sound silly to me. And as I said, I was just laughing to myself because I was like, there you have it, And anyway, I maintained that level of heaven on earth, even all through my journey home, all through my 3 flights in 20 hours. I won't go into details of that, but suffice to say that everything just fell into place, got my window seat, found my flight socks, everything. And I just floated. I swear I floated home. So yeah, I did have that experience in India, which was amazing. And for me, it is all about getting back to that experience. And that does bring us back to the raising our vibrations. And that's what it is all about, is understanding. See, for me personally, I think it's really simple. I think everything is really simple. I think there's just 2 things we need to remember. One is that everything is energy, and the other one is that like attracts like. It's as simple as that. The energy that you are within you is the energy that you are contributing to the world. Okay, that's what we need to remember. And we can
get, you get more of what you are. You always get more of what you are and where you are. So if you don't like what and where you are, then you need to think about what you can do to be more of what you want, so that you get more of that. And it's just step by step by step. You just keep transforming your thoughts and your beliefs and your actions too. It's like, Einstein said, you can't solve a problem with the same mind that created the problem, you know.
Yeah,
So we need
or with the same energy level that
to,
created it. You see, because I'm just seeing everything as energy. So and it's another one of those corny phrases that you don't realize until you experience it, which is, if you want to see change in the world, you have to be that change. You know, people hear this, it gets branded around all the time, you know, but you have to really understand that.
It's hard to grasp.
Sorry?
It's hard to grasp sometimes. It's hard to grasp the concept, you know, if you haven't, it's only through experience. That's why our thinking minds are really not needed for this higher vibrational life. It's our heart minds. Yeah, and this is fine for planning and calculating and strategizing and all of that, but we actually don't need to strategize anymore. We need to learn to just trust that the universe has come back, trust in the energy that we are, It's not somebody else's energy. We're not trusting in something out there. We're trusting in ourselves, that we have the light and the strength and the energy and the capacity to transform our experience, to turn on the light and transform the dark.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting what you said about, you know, in the fifth dimension. I mean, I want to talk dimensions again because it's fifth dimensional energy that's coming in at the moment, right? And in the fifth dimension, we don't need so many words, of course. Like you say, it's all about the heart, you know, and just the understanding and the love which can be felt. And that when we talk and when we think, it's very much fourth dimension, you know, it's our mental dimension. And that was interesting because that's one of the things I noticed on my trip back from India, you know, was that actually I didn't have a conversation with anybody. And normally I'd be quite chatty when I'm traveling, and I wasn't talking to anybody, but in the nicest possible way. And nobody was talking to me in the nicest possible way, because I just looked around me and everybody was smiling. It's like everybody had this beautiful smile for me. Right? I have no idea what I look like, but something tells me that I was grinning broadly as well, and maybe, you know, but yeah, so I think that's very true. Is that yeah, the way that you were saying is getting out of your head and into your heart. Yeah, that's an important point. So the other thing that we were talking about before was about the higher frequencies coming in and the emergence of these new lighter, higher frequencies. And so what's your take on that?
Constantly changing, but okay, so I sort of already touched on it, in that we're raising the vibration to love and above, so that we can maintain a physical existence and our physical playground here on Earth. Or in the universe. I think we're becoming more universal beings. But I've recently been reading Barbara Marx Hubbard and her book Emergence, and she has an emergence process. So she talks about, I love her work because she's always looking for what's working in the world, what's working, and what's working to promote evolution. That evolution is all about greater efficiency, greater coherence, higher frequency living. And so she said that the push for evolution is always going forward. And really, we're at an evolutionary leap at this time, and we're moving from those denser vibrations to higher vibrations, and things that people are a little bit fearful of at the moment, like new technologies and AI and 5G and all of that, that those are, instead of looking at the denser aspects of that, and what in a lower frequency society, you know, the corruption of it, that it might, you know, they might use it against us, they might enslave us with it. She's always looking from the, well, the evolutionary push of, you know, of consciousness, which is what we all are, remember, that when we put our consciousness behind and with the evolutionary force, that we can use technology. It's the next step for humanity to evolve with these technologies. You know, these technologies are not aliens from another universe. We created them. We created them. Humans created them. They're not miscreated. There's no such thing. The miscreation gets left out of the evolutionary push. It cannot exist beyond a certain thing. So humans have created them, and so we can use them for good, because that is our evolutionary push, our evolutionary force. So not to be afraid, but to actually look at what works within these things. What can we use of these new technologies? How can we use them for our betterment, for evolution, for enlightenment? How can we use them to help with love? That's what we need to be doing, rather than trying to stop them and block them. And, you know, that's just shutting the door and running away down the hall. We need to turn the light on and see and how we can use these things for good. That answer your question? Maybe I went off on it.
As always, you answer one question and you create so many more within us.
Well, let's throw it out there. Does anybody have questions that they want to put
throw
in?
it out there. If anyone's got any questions, please write them down. I've just seen that Karen is on and she's writing lovely messages to us. So there's love and blessings to Karen. One thing I did want to say though, Liz, about what you're saying, I don't know whether it's the right time to mention something about focused life force energy, which we're both aware of.
Oh,
and
yes.
It's a good example of what you're talking about. The technology, I'm going to let you talk about it because you have a more scientific mind than me. I would just simplify it. No, actually, I won't even simplify it, because for me, and this is the same with so many things in my life, I've mentioned them in my books, I don't actually need to know how things work. You know, I'm the one that gets in the car and drives it. I don't have to be a mechanic, you know. I'm the one that will switch the light on without knowing how electricity works. And so I know that the focused life force energy.net works because I've been experiencing it. How it works, I'm not quite sure. But would you like to say something about that? Because it's a really perfect example of how technology has really has upgraded to another level, and how there are people on the planet using it for the highest good of all. Oh, I felt quite passionate about that.
Wow. Yeah.
Tell us about the Focused Life Force Energy.net.
Okay. Focused Life Force Energy is a technology, or Fluffy, it's known for short.
Fluffy, yeah.
It is something I've just been doing for the last kind of nearly 2 weeks now, a week and a half. There's a 15-day free trial. You don't even need a credit card. You don't have to cancel it. It'll just automatically stop when your 15 days are over. And they have a very informative website, which I've read a lot of. And, you know, as I'm reading it, I'm going, oh, yeah, that makes total sense. And don't ask me to repeat it. It makes sense when I read it, but I'm not sure I know enough to explain it, except that it works on a very similar principle, I feel, to my distance energy healing. It's a pyramidal shape. I think and it uses shungite for mitigating against EMFs and higher technologies. So, you know, I'm not saying that 5G and all of those things don't have toxic realities in this reality, but there are technologies, and as we raise our vibrations, those toxicities will just cease to exist. A bit like turning the light on and the darkness is transformed. And we will our frequency and vibration will match the frequencies of the new technologies coming in. They're not something to be afraid of. However, in the meanwhile, they are something to be mitigated against. And something like Fluffy helps us to do that. I noticed as soon, you know, you send you say, subscribe me for the 15-day free trial. You get an email back saying it's been activated. I swear, even, you know, before I picked up the email, I felt like a light go on behind my eyes. I felt my brain clear. And I used to have a lot of brain fog, and I don't so much anymore. But that was like, it just shot the last bits of brain fog out and gone. It's subtle. It is subtle, but tangible at the same time. And then there's this activator button for 5 minutes a day. You can increase the vibration to 600. And that just is like, wow. It's like shining a spotlight into all your.
There's your 600.
We need it in the mirror. 600 is peace. Yeah.
It's peace. Yeah. And so that one of the things I love about it is that it is based on the Dr. David Hawkins map of consciousness, which is one of my favorite concepts, tools, or whatever you want to call it. And I love it so much because it explains so much. But yes, exactly. You said it's subtle. I have to be honest, when I did because I'm doing the same free trial, as you say, no credit card needed. The website is Focused Life FLFE. Sorry, Focused Life Force Energy. So it's FLFE.net. Anyway, go there to get all your information. But and so there's the 2-week free trial with that boost. So the first time I did that boost, you say it's subtle, but the first time I did it, you've got to remember, I'm boosting myself with the frequency of 600 going on here, right? And we know, because you've already said, that when the light comes in, the darkness goes. And I talk about this a lot with the energy healing, you know, when the love comes in, the negative emotions go. And as our friend Guillermo says,
I don't think they go out. I think they're transformed.
That's So when I first did that boost, I actually felt a little bit uneasy, you know, and I should have done it when I was lying down ready to meditate and I had time to rest and everything, but I did it before I was about to work. And I got really quite jittery because obviously it was having an amazing effect. And in the right situation, you know, if you were to do that boost while you can meditate, that's a healing. That's a healing. You know, so for me, it's been like free healing coming down the phone. Obviously, after 2 weeks, you have to subscribe. But even so, for me, it's going to be worth it because it's healing in itself. And so, yeah, that's amazing. But that's a really good example of how technology upgrades are actually working in our favor. And the other thing I wanted to say, sorry, go on.
Oh yeah, I was going. No, you're probably going to say what I was going to remind you to say. So go ahead.
I don't know what you're going to remind me to say.
About when one person raises their vibration, the effect that it has out. So.
Yeah. Liz, do you want me to talk about my chart? No, it is, but it's super relevant, and I think it's more relevant now than ever. So just let me say that, first of all, the original chart is the chart, the map of consciousness by Dr. David Hawkins in his book, Power versus Force, okay? And that chart, unfortunately, for copyright reasons, I cannot show publicly. Although in my one-to-one, I have a proper copy of it from the original source, which I'm allowed to use on one-to-ones and in small groups of under 10. And so on my healing retreats and on my online programs, I do use it. But in the absence of the original map of consciousness, we do have this one, which is called a scale. With it. I use it quite a lot and use it as the picture for this this live. But the reason I think it's so important is in our conversation already, you've mentioned love or above. You see, now a lot of people understand what love or above is, but a lot of people wouldn't understand what love or above is. So just if you have a look here, I can't really see what you're seeing and what I have to just hold it like that. Is that clear, Liz?
Back to front.
It is back to front. Okay, so you need to all start reading back to front. But love or above is basically at 500, I think it is 528 hertz or whatever. This is the frequency of the emotion, because what we're talking about is everything is energy, including your emotions. And that's why it's important to understand that everything is energy and like attracts like. And that's what we've already touched on, because we've said that whatever you have on the inside of you is what you're going to attract from outside. We hear things like you create your reality with your thoughts and your beliefs, but of course, because whatever you have on the inside, whatever energy you are vibrating at on the inside is what you're going to attract to you. So why is it so important to love yourself? Because when you hit that vibration of love at 500 or above, then that gets reflected back to you, and your entire life becomes more loving, and people become more loving, and everything becomes more loving, okay, because it's reflecting the love from within you. So this chart is super, super important, especially at this time. So I do want to focus on it for a little while. Now here you can see it says contracted and expanded, and there's what I call a tipping point right there in the middle, which is at 200, which is at courage, okay? This is at the 200 mark. This is the tipping point. What do I mean by that? The tipping point is basically if you are vibrating your overall vibration, okay? So we can all feel lower vibrations, of course, and we can all feel higher vibrations. But this is referring to what is your overall, like your average, okay? And it's not just for people. You can measure books on this. Books have a vibration. Everything is energy. Anything that has energy, you could measure on here, okay? But let's talk about people, okay? So the people that are vibrating below this tipping point, they're going to feel victims of life. These are the people that believe that life is happening to them, okay? Whereas those that are vibrating above, let's say 250, this is where real meaningful living starts. And anyone vibrating above this realizes that they are the powerful creator of their own reality. And this tipping point is crucial because it's obviously the difference between the two. It's about transforming your life into being one that you are consciously creating and not one that you are a victim to. So it is quite relevant for these times. So let me just have a little talk up the charts for anyone that doesn't know it. It starts off down here with shame and guilt and apathy. These are very, very low vibrating emotions. And these would be people who are depressed, genuinely depressed. People who really don't care about anything or anyone. And they really are quite stuck in that. And it is easy to get stuck in every level, of course, because you are attracting what you're putting out. So it becomes a vicious circle. So that's why I think understanding how energy works really helps you shift from one level to the next. And as far as I'm concerned, it's all about moving from fear into love. So these people would be quite depressed. Then you've got the grief, and then you can see fear is at 100. Now, a lot of people are living in this area of fear. And the more fear you have within you, the more fear will materialize in your reality outside of you. Okay, because that's the way it's working. Now, we're going to have some fear, obviously, but we're talking about degrees and your overriding emotions. So I would say, I like to refer to that as your default setting. What is your natural default setting? So you could have somebody who's very fearful most of the time, but maybe they experience a wedding or a birth in their family, and they can have this feeling of joy and love, you know, for a short period of time, and then they go back to their default setting. Equally, you can have somebody vibrating at the higher vibration of love, and they could lose a loved one, and they could go into this area of grief for a while. But again, it's not their default setting. So I know I'm generalizing, but I think that's one of the best ways to look at the chart. If from fear, if you have a look, you've got desire, which makes perfect sense, because desire is you wanting something, you choosing that you want something. Because down here in apathy, there's no desire, right? And you need the desire to kickstart you out of situations. Then you've got anger, and a lot of people ask me, you know, why they're surprised that anger is so high up. But one of the things about anger is that you have to care to be angry. You have to care. You know, if you're angry, these people are not angry. Depressed people don't get angry because they just don't care. Whereas if you feel angry, it's because you care about making change. You want change. You want to change something, and you care about it. So that's actually quite a positive step. But again, we all know people that are angry people whose default setting is anger. We could probably all think of people that fall into that category. So they also need a kickstart to get out of it. Now, what's happening now is a lot of people from fear, you know, are moving into anger. Okay, well, this is cool. This is what we want. It's in the right direction. But we don't want to stay and hang out in anger too long. Otherwise, we are just going to create a very angry planet for ourselves. So we do need to get that anger and kickstart ourselves out of that. And there we've got courage. Okay, courage. And the next one, the one that I think is really transformational, so I just want to spend a couple of minutes talking about it, is the power behind the emotion of willingness. That's 310. Willingness is, I love the emotion of willingness. It's absolutely perfect, because willingness is your leg up. Willingness is your step in the right direction. Willingness shows that you, again, it's like anger in the fact that you want change, but angry, you know. Willingness is, there's, on the actual original chart, willingness comes with optimism and hopefulness and all those lovely words. Okay, so willingness is all about understanding that that you have the power. You're not quite sure how or what to do with it, but you're willing to explore. A willingness to explore more about who you are and how you can raise your vibration and improve your life. Just that willingness. And you know how you can actually make conscious choices to, by investing in yourself, because at the end of the day, it's all about you. You are the center of your own universe. And we've already discussed that your reality is a reflection of you. So what better investment in life than investing in yourself? That means time, that means energy, you know, that also means money, you know, investing in yourself. Because I've often thought the most remarkable transformations that I've seen have probably been with people on my retreats. And they come for 5 or 6 days, or 6 or 7 days. And you think about it, they are investing a lot of money because they've got the flights as well. They're investing a whole week of their time. They're investing a whole load of energy. And not only that, but they turn up so optimistic and so willing, you know. And I think to myself, you know what? They've already healed themselves. No, I don't want to do myself that many future guests, but you know, you get the idea. That willingness, because they wouldn't have got on the aeroplane, they wouldn't have taken a week off work, they wouldn't have spent that money, you know, if they were not that willing. And that investment, you're putting that energy out there, and that investment is what pays back. So once you've got this willingness, it can just be a willingness to improve yourself somehow. It can just be a willingness to read more or learn more, and to love yourself more.
To me,
as you
to me, willingness is the step that can unblock you. You know, if you're stuck in a lower vibrating emotion, even you don't know how to get out of it. You just have to say, I'm willing to get out of this. I'm willing to move forward, and something will come to you. It breaks that deadlock, really.
Yeah, and it's basically makes it a much more manageable. One of the things I do on the retreats and on my online programs is installing the belief of I love and accept myself completely. And that is what I call the big one. It's the biggest one. Once you can install, when I say install, I mean when you can align your energy with the energy of loving and accepting yourself completely. That's high vibrating energy. So it is difficult to achieve. And so often what I would do is I would install the belief I am willing to love and accept myself. And that is your stepping stone. That's your step ladder up to that. Once you've installed that, then exactly. So when you get up to here, and you've got reason here, which includes understanding, and I think that's an important one. But the other two really important things, because most people that come to me as a client are kind of up there at the willingness stage, and they're willing to invest in themselves. That's the important thing. But what I don't want to call them blocks, but I like to refer to them maybe as spiritual lessons or energy concepts, or however you want to refer to them. But the 2 points to get you, to shift you from into love and joy, is acceptance and forgiveness. Okay, and they come up on the map of consciousness. Acceptance and forgiveness. They are, once you can transcend those, or once you can get your head around those, ultimately accept yourself completely and forgive yourself completely, and understand that there is only you to be forgiven.
Forgiveness is a big thing.
It is a big thing, but that's what will take you to joy and up to this part of the chart.
It's a big step, though. It is a big step, and a lot of people stumble on it, and I stumbled on it for years. I could forgive most things from most people, but there were just, you know, I was listening to Michelle Obama's thing the other day, and she was saying, I still feel a bit salty about that. You know, her career guidance teacher told her she wasn't good enough to go to Harvard or Stanford or whatever she wanted to go. And she did, and, you know, she excelled. And she said, but, you know, I still feel salty about that. And I think there were people and circumstances in my life that I felt salty about. I could love and forgive most everyone, but it was just those couple of things. And, you know, they were big things. They were big things. And I don't really want to go into it here, but you know, it's people often bring up, yeah, but how do you forgive a rape or a murder or child abuse, or how, you know, how can you forgive those things? And what I came to was that there's nothing to forgive, because these things don't happen to me, they happen for me. They happened for me to help me grow, to help me understand, even if it's only to help me have empathy. But everything that happened in my life happened for me. And I drew it to me to help me learn. I brought my annoying brothers into my life. I landed in their life, you know, to help me kind of overcome annoying people in my life, to help me deal with that, to help me to understand that somebody can be annoying and I can still love them. You know, to help me that somebody can hurt me and I can still love them.
Yeah,
hurt,
I'm going to take. Oh, sorry, go on.
Sorry, the hurt is the symptom. It's the key to helping you to understand the lesson that's in there for you. You know, or it might only be an irritation. It might be just a frustration or an irritation, but it could be a deep, deep traumatic hurt. And the deeper and more traumatic that the experience or the hurt is, the more profound the impulse to enlighten and learn is, that you can get from that experience. So dealing with trauma, again, it's not shutting the door on the ominous feeling and running down the hall. When you become more enlightened, you're able to step into that darkness and know that your light will transform it. And so forgiveness isn't even an issue, because there's nothing to forgive, because even the worst person was doing it for you, was trying to help you, was playing that awful, awful role for you. And they took on the karma and all of the negative energy and low vibrational life that it took for them to be in that position to help me learn.
Yeah.
And so, you know, thank you is all you can say to that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think that's amazing. And actually, I would say what helped me most with understanding the concept of forgiveness, and I think it is a concept still, because you know, you can forgive at different levels. Again, I want to refer to this. The forgiveness that you feel towards somebody or a situation is dependent on where you are on this chart. And so my forgiveness to a particular person in my past, you know, has changed. I thought that I dealt with it. I must have said to you many times, oh, I thought I dealt with that. I thought I dealt with that, you know. And I had, for the level of consciousness that I was in. And when you raise your level of consciousness, you're dealing with it at a whole new level. And so the two things that really helped me was, one was when I got into the soul level healing, which I did with soul realignment with Andrea Hess. The soul level healing made me understand that we do actually agree to incarnate with certain people, and we agree to help each other learn the ultimate lessons of life, which are, in my opinion, self-love and self-realization, and realizing that, you know, who we are, that we are divinity being expressed in our humanity, and to help us in that way. And some people choose to incarnate with us and help us through loving us and looking after us on our journey. And other people, we agree with them before we come in that they're going to play the baddie in our film of life. And they play that role for the purpose of us waking up and learning to love ourselves. And that's what happened to me. So although I forgave the person when I was like vibrating here, I forgave them and moved away and everything else. And then I realized that, you know, it was for me, it was for my benefit, for me to learn to love myself. I would never have learned to love myself if I hadn't, obviously, they were just reflecting my own lack of self-love. I didn't love myself, therefore I was attracting in a relationship whereby I wasn't really loved. So that made perfect sense to me. But then the other person, the other thing that helped me through that was you, Liz Nagle, because when I watched you doing the work from Byron Katie, the Byron Katie work, when I watched you of ours, that really, really resonated with me. And that was when I experienced true forgiveness, because I then thought, I still had notions that, you know, they were the baddie and I was the goodie, you know, then to actually realize that they incarnated into that experience for the purpose of me learning to love myself. And now that I love myself, you know, and that isn't nice for them. That wasn't a nice experience for them, but they did that for me. It was that got me. And I was watching you do this with somebody else, and it was like, they did that for me. And now that is how to forgive, because you're like, the love that came up, the love that came up for this person who chose who agreed to play the baddie in my film so that I could love myself and then go on and help other people learn to love themselves, was just massive. That was massive. So then you realize, hang on a minute, it was my lack of self that made them have to behave the way they did. That's why it's all about forgiving yourself. That's why it's all about forgiving yourself. So then I had to then, oh my God, I forgive myself for not loving myself. Wow, that was a massive realization that I had. And I know it had a big impact on the other person that we were working with at the time. So, so forgiveness, yes, it's a massive one. Definitely, definitely. Okay, we did have a little question there from somebody about forgiveness. That's why I wanted to share that story. So I hope that's helped in some respect. But also on the subject of acceptance and forgiveness, I'm just going to do a little shameless plug, if I may. But in my second book, Heal Your Soul, which is probably mirrored as well, but anyway, Heal Your Soul, in here I talk about soul level stuff, and in here I talk about the evolution of the soul, and I talk very much about this chart and the map of consciousness, and how when you understand that different people are at different stages of evolution, it really helps you understand where they're coming from, and it helps you understand who they are, and that in turn helps you accept them and stop trying to change them. And that in turn helps you forgive them for any wrongdoing, perceived wrongdoing that they've done, because you can understand that they're just living at the level that they're at. Okay, and that's fine. And not only is that fine, but that's actually fantastic, because through those perceived negative things that you think they're doing, they're waking people up. And that's what we ask them to do. So, you know, you can actually create a whole feeling, and I'm bringing it up into myself. My heart is expanding as I'm saying this. But, you know, love for all of creation, okay? And that is, anyway, so back to my shameless plug. So that's all in this book about soul level stuff, and how understanding the evolution of the soul and understanding the level of consciousness can really help you with forgiveness. There's a whole chapter on forgiveness and acceptance, and the importance of creativity and the importance of being yourself. But on the theme of shameless plugs, just to let you know, and this one is less of a shameless plug, because this is a Heal Yourself to Happiness is now free. I am giving it away in PDF form from my website at deborahjanesutton.com. So for your own free copy of Heal Yourself to Happiness, this is very much talking about the emotional and mental layers. It talks about emotional healing. It talks about the power of words. It talks about the power of gratitude. And there's a whole chapter on different ways that you can raise your vibration through different, everything is energy. So whether it be colors or crystals or yoga, exercise, food, thoughts, feng shui, the whole lot. And it talks about faith as well. It talks about the importance of faith, which I think goes hand in hand with willingness, which we've already talked about. So, and if you want a copy of this one, it's on Amazon. And if you want a real life book, this one is also on Amazon. So that was my shameless plug. And you can always contact me at my website, deborahjanesutton.com, and you can contact Liz at her website at liznagle.com.
Yes,
So,
it's new, and my website is a work in progress, and my Wi-Fi has been really bad, so I started it, and then it was just getting too frustrating, so I kind of stopped. But my contact details are there, and a few little bits and pieces about what I do. Now that people are going back to work, the bandwidth, I'll have more bandwidth here, so hopefully I'll have better internet and I can finish my website. But please, yeah, just get in touch on Facebook or wherever. I have a Facebook page as well, Liz Nagle MD. That's a public page. You don't have to friend me.
Excellent. Excellent. And I would just like to finish up with just one more reason why, and I think you did touch on it earlier, and I think I didn't pick you up on it, was another reason why it is important to raise your vibrations. Because vibrations, of course, is to do the thing that makes your heart sing, to be creative, and just to be who you came here to be. Self-love and just looking after yourself, and a lot of people think that that is selfish. A lot of people think that they need to cater to other people first, but the really, really important message here is that you need to look after yourself, and then you can better cater to other people, of course, because you're coming from a place of strength and abundance and satisfaction and love. Okay, and a good analogy would be the oxygen masks that drop. They always say, put your own mask on before you help someone else. And of course, if you try and put somebody else's mask on while you haven't got yours, you're coming from a frustrated, depleted, panic mode. Whereas if you put your oxygen mask on first, you can then help others from a place of abundance, a place of health, a place of clarity, a place of deeper love. So it is super, super important to look after yourself and do whatever it is that makes you feel good. Whatever that may be, do more of it. It's so important because it's not selfish, because these are figures from Power versus Force, Dr. David Hawkins again. But one individual who is vibrating at 300, which is the level of willingness, which we've talked about, one individual vibrating at 300 counterbalances 90,000 people that are vibrating below the tipping point. Remember I talked about the tipping point. It counterbalances 90,000 people that are vibrating below that. And we're talking about a collective consciousness. We're talking about healing the world now. Okay, that's why it's so important. And then one person who's vibrating at 400, which is reason, one person, that could be you, just by upping your self-love regime. Okay, one person vibrating at 400 counterbalances 400,000 people below 200. Okay, one person at 500, which is love or above. So you hit that vibration of love, one person is 750,000 people that are vibrating below in this contracted area. And one individual at 600, peace, harmony. Okay, one individual there is actually 10 million individuals. So you owe it to world peace as well as yourself.
And Fluffy can help you get to 600.
And Fluffy can help you get to, yes, flfe.net. can help you get to 600, really boost yourself up to that 600, and then you know that you are helping 10 million people who are vibrating. So when you're here, you're fearful. When you're here, you're angry with everybody, okay? But this is how, when you get up to here, by loving everybody, it is possible, and it is needed, and it is transforming. And that is how we create heaven on earth. And that's how, as a collective, we're going to create the new earth, okay? So people often say, how can you just meditating at home under a tree? Look at these Buddhas that are meditating on mountaintops under a tree. How are they helping? They're helping. They're helping a lot more than the angry people that are jumping up and down. So the way to get there, do the thing that makes your heart sing. Do whatever makes you feel good. Whatever makes you feel good.
Thank you, Deborah.
Yes, thank you, Liz. It's been such a pleasure sharing this little screen with you.
This is like our average daily conversation. It's wonderful. I love it. That's how we raise our vibration. Just talking about all these concepts. It's brilliant. Yeah, and that's the other thing, is find people who are vibrating at the same level that you can have these conversations with. It's really uplifting, you know. It's really wonderful. Thank you.
And get out of victimhood. Get out of victimhood. And this is where, you know, you do need to get out of victimhood, and you need to not be in denial about anything, because it's about accepting all of who you are, and find people that vibrate at the same level, because if you can't see the aspects of you that you're denying, they'll point it out for you.
Sorry about that. I'm very good at that.
Okay, excellent, lovely. So until the next time, till the next like this, I just want to leave you all with lots and lots of love and blessings. Go to my website, deborahjanesutton.com, download your free copy of Heal Yourself to Happiness. Okay, and hopefully see you soon. Thank you, Liz.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, everyone.
Bye to everybody. Bye.